The stars in Sector 14 had always been peaceful. Patrol ships came and went, scanning the empty void. There were no signs of enemy fleets, no pirates, no space storms, just silence, cold and endless. But then, something changed. An object appeared. Near the edge of the sector, it wasn't on any travel route. It didn't send a signal or ask for entry. It just appeared, at first. The Zendari officers on the battlecruiser Karnak thought it was an asteroid. But it didn't spin, didn't drift, it moved with purpose. Then it stopped, right in the center of the patrol zone. "Sir, something's blocking the stars," said Officer Tren, pointing at the screen. Commander Valix leaned forward, narrowing his 4 eyes. There was a black shape, massive, like a mountain floating in space. It had no lights, no markings, nothing. Just a shadow where stars should have been. "Try scanning it," Valix ordered. Tren's hands moved quickly over the controls. "No readings, Commander. Our scanners aren't picking up anything." "How is that possible?" Valix asked. Before anyone could answer, a quiet voice from the corner of the bridge said, "Could it be a human ship?" The bridge fell silent. Someone laughed nervously. "Humans? They're just a myth." But no one else laughed for years. The Galactic Council had dismissed Earth as primitive, a low-tech world full of chaos and war. But there were always whispers, stories from far-off systems, rumors about Terran warships that appeared and disappeared without warning. Ships that left no survivors. Valix didn't believe in ghost stories. But this didn't feel normal. This didn't feel safe. "Zoom in," he said. The screen adjusted, and everyone gasped. The ship was shaped like a long spear, thick at the center and armored like a fortress. There were no windows, just massive slabs of black metal. It didn't look like a ship, it looked like a weapon. "What's it doing now?" Valix asked. "Nothing," said Tren. "It's just watching us." Valix opened a secure channel to Central Command. "We have an unknown vessel," he said. "No signal, no ID, and it's not responding. Do you have visuals?" Asked the voice on the other end. He sent the image. There was silence. Then a voice returned, shakier than before. "Do not engage, Commander. Repeat, do not scan. Do not approach. Do not fire. Just observe. Do you know what it is?" Valix asked. Another silence. Then a reply. "We believe it's human." Valix's heart pounded. "Humans haven't been seen in over 100 years, he whispered. "And maybe that was on purpose," said the voice. "Stay in formation. We are dispatching a diplomatic channel." Suddenly, a message appeared on their main screen. It wasn't a voice, not even a video, just text. "UNZC Leviathan Dreadnought, class do not approach." The letters were written in an old Earth language, but every officer on the bridge understood the meaning. This was no cargo ship. This was a warship. Krell, the weapons officer, whispered, "Dreadnought. That means it's built for total war." Valix nodded slowly. "One ship, designed to fight entire fleets. No weapons are powered," Tren said, checking the energy sensors. "It hasn't moved in over an hour." Valix looked at the file. Ship again. It was terrifying, not because of what it did, but because of what it didn't do. It didn't fire, didn't move, didn't even scan them. It just waited. Why would a human ship be here, in our space? Krell asked. "Maybe it's lost," another officer said. "Maybe it's a warning," Valix replied. 3 more hours passed. The ship didn't move. But the fear inside the alien crew only grew stronger. Crew members whispered prayers. Others gripped their control panels with shaking hands. 50 Zendari warships sat in the sector, but none dared make the first move. Valix finally said what they were all thinking. "One ship is holding us all hostage, and it hasn't even opened." Fire. In that moment, they understood. The myths were true. Humans were not extinct. They had just been quiet, too quiet, and now they were back. The Zendari High Council chamber was built to inspire fear. It sat in the heart of a planet-sized station, surrounded by black glass and glowing banners of every conquered world. The floor was polished stone, the walls lined with cold steel, But today, none of it gave comfort. The council members stood in silence, staring at the giant screen at the center of the chamber. On that screen floated a ship, a human ship, the UNSC Leviathan. It had appeared out of nowhere and was now holding the Zendari fleet hostage in Sector 14. Without firing, without speaking, without moving, it was winning, and that terrified them. Grand Chancellor Rivek, the oldest among them, slammed his clawed hand on the table. Where did this come from? He barked. Why wasn't it detected before it entered our space? We don't know, Chancellor, said General Thawne. It evaded all early warning systems. Impossible, snapped Rivek. No one bypasses our border scans. Except, apparently, humans, whispered a voice at the back of the room. The council turned. It was Archivist Dren, keeper of ancient military records. He stepped forward slowly, carrying an old datapad. I've seen something like this before, he said quietly. Rivek narrowed his eyes. Explain. Dren activated the screen. It showed an old black and white image, blurry, grainy, but clearly showing a similar ship. It was labeled Incident 04 Vega. 79 cycles ago, one of our scout fleets vanished near the Vega expanse. Dren said, this image was the last transmission. Recovered by a mining drone 2 years later, no one spoke. The ship in that old image had the same shape, same black hull, the same presence. But there were no survivors, Dren added. Not even debris. So it's true, whispered General Thawne. The Terrans still exist. They never died, Dren said. They just disappeared. Until now, Rivek clenched his fists. All this time we mocked them. We erased their name from history, and now they show up. With that, he pointed at the screen. Chancellor, said Counselor Ivala, we need to understand their goal. Do they want war? They haven't attacked, Thawne noted. Yet, Rivek muttered. But their silence is more dangerous than an attack. Have we tried speaking with them? Another counselor asked. We sent a message, Thawne replied. No answer, Dren's fingers moved quickly across his pad. I suggest we open the old Terran files, he said. The classified ones, Rivek growled. Those records were sealed for a reason. Exactly, Dren said. And this is the reason. After a moment of hesitation, Rivek gave the order, open them. A massive screen lit up behind them. One file after another appeared, each marked Red Level Threat. The council read in silence. One story after another, alien fleets destroyed in minutes. Colonies burned by Terran retaliation after unprovoked attacks. Entire planets left untouched, but scarred with warning beacons. Leave Earth alone, they read. No second chance. Why didn't we know about this? Ivala asked, shocked. Because the last generation of leaders buried it, Dren answered. They feared the truth would cause panic. Now that truth was in front of them, and panic had already begun. They are not like us, Rivek said quietly. They don't bluff. They don't send warnings. They don't ask for permission. When they come to end things. They didn't come to end us, Thawne reminded. Not yet. They're just sitting there. Ivala stared at the image of the Leviathan. It's a test, she said slowly. They're waiting to see how we react. Then we better not fail that test, Rivek growled. The chamber was silent again. Finally, the Chancellor stood tall and said, recall all ships from Sector 14 to defensive positions. No one fires. No one approaches. But what if they advance? Thawne asked. Rivek looked at the screen one more time. Then, we talk, and we hope. The alien fleet held position. 50 ships floated like statues in space. Engines low, weapons cold. In front of them, the human ship Leviathan remained still, silent, and unreadable. Commander Valak stood on the bridge of the Zendari flagship. Staring at the screen, 2 full days had passed. No movement, no signal, no aggression, just silence. Some officers had stopped sleeping, afraid to close their eyes. Others had started whispering about ghosts, about curses, about ancient punishments from the stars. Valak ignored the noise. but even he could feel the pressure. Then, without warning, the lights on the bridge flickered. The air changed like something cold had entered the room. The communication screen blinked once, then a voice came through. It was human. "Attention Zendari Command Fleet." The voice said, slow and steady, "This is Captain Elias Vorn of the UNSC Leviathan. You are in restricted space. Everyone on the bridge froze." The voice wasn't loud, it wasn't angry, it was calm, almost gentle, and that was terrifying. Valak stepped forward, clearing his throat. "This is Commander Valak of the Zendari Armada," he replied, trying to sound strong. "You have entered our sector without clearance." A pause followed. Then the human voice returned. "You are mistaken, Commander. This region is not claimed by your council. It is classified as a Terran red zone." Red zone, that term wasn't in any of their maps. But it sounded like a warning. Valak kept his voice firm. "We have patrolled this sector for 300 cycles," he said. "No one has ever spoken of a human claim." Captain Vorn didn't raise his tone. He didn't argue. He simply said, "And now someone has." That sentence echoed through the bridge. Simple, final, unshackable. Valak looked at his crew. Krell, the weapons officer, was pale, his hands shaking above the controls. Tren looked like he wanted to run. "Why are you here?" Valak asked. "To observe," Vorn replied. "Observe what?" "You." Another pause. Valak's heart thumped louder in his chest. The crew waited, breath held tight. "I have reviewed your fleet formations," the human captain continued. "Your weapons loadout is heavy, but outdated. Your shields are layered, but inefficient. If this was a battle, you would lose in 8 seconds. Gasps broke across the room. Some officers stepped back from their stations. Others looked to Valak in fear. "How do you know all this?" Valak demanded. "I've studied war for 50 years, Vorn answered. "I don't need to fight to know the result." "You're threatening us," Valak said. "No," Vorn replied calmly. "If I were threatening you, you would already be gone." The silence after that felt like a heavy blanket on their backs. Valak felt his throat tighten. The calmness of the human's voice made it worse. There was no hate in it, no anger. Just confidence, deadly, cold confidence. "I recommend you withdraw your ships, Commander," Vorn said. "Your presence here is not wise." Valak took a deep breath. "And if we don't?" "For now, nothing," said the human. "But if you take one step forward, if you scan us again, or fire even one pulse of energy, then Leviathan will awaken." "What does that mean?" Valak asked, voice shaking slightly. "Just pray." "You never find out," Vorn replied. Then the screen went black. The entire bridge was silent. No one moved. Even the humming of the ship's system seemed quieter now. "He didn't raise his voice," Krell said softly. "He didn't even activate a single weapon. But I've never been more scared." Valak nodded slowly. "He didn't come to fight," he said. "He came to show us we're not ready." The truth settled like a weight in their hearts. They had laughed at human myths. They had mocked Terran technology. But now, they had heard the voice of a human captain, and they understood something deeper than war. Humans didn't need to shout to be dangerous. They didn't need to fire to win. Sometimes, the scariest voice was the calmest one. The human ship Leviathan hadn't moved in 3 days. It hadn't fired. It hadn't powered weapons. It just sat there silent, watching, waiting. To the Zendari fleet, it was like staring at a sleeping beast. No sound, no threat, but the feeling. The feeling that one wrong move would be their end. Commander Valak stood on the bridge of his flagship, eyes fixed on the black warship on the screen. His crew moved slowly, quietly, like any sudden noise might provoke the thing. Still no energy. "Spikes," reported Tren. "They're not powering any systems," Krell added. "But their shields are at full strength, even though they're not visible." "How can you tell?" Valak asked. "Because every time we scan them, our signals bounce back with perfect shape, no distortion, no delay," Krell replied. "That kind of shield tech shouldn't exist." Valix didn't respond. He was too busy reading the small message still hanging in red on the bottom of the screen. Do not approach other Zendari ships around them were starting to drift slightly, adjusting position. One of them, the Varan's Claw, had moved just a little closer. Valix opened to come to the captain. Hold position, he said firmly. Don't get curious now. Commander, came the reply. Our sensors can't penetrate the hull. We just want to take a better reading. Negative, Valix said. Back off. The human already warned us. Let's not test their patience. But not everyone agreed. Deep within the fleet, a different voice echoed. Admiral Krantov Bold, proud and dangerous, had been watching from his cruiser. He had always hated humans. To him, they were cowards who hid behind stories and silence. They don't scare me. Krantov growled. One ship and the whole fleet goes silent? Where's our pride? His crew looked nervous, but they obeyed as he barked orders. Charge. The main beam, he said. Not to fire, just a targeting lock. You sure that's wise, sir? Asked his tactical officer. We've been told. Enough, Krantov snapped. This is our territory. His ship, the Fang of Honor, shifted slightly, just enough to face the Leviathan more directly. A faint hum echoed as the beam cannon locked onto the human vessel. Back on Valix's bridge, alarms flashed. Commander! Krell shouted. One of our cruisers just locked weapons on the Leviathan. Valix's eyes widened. Who? The Fang of Honor. Valix didn't waste time. Open channel now. The screen blinked, showing Admiral Krantov's face. Proud and angry. Disengage targeting. Valix yelled. You'll get us all killed. Krantov smirked. They won't do anything, Commander, he said. They're bluffing. But the moment he said those words, everything changed. A low rumble spread through space. All 50 ships felt it at once. Not a sound, but a pulse. A shockwave from the Leviathan. It wasn't an attack, it was a reminder. Then lights came on across the Human Warship. Red lines glowed across its black surface like veins. Its engines didn't ignite. Its weapons didn't move. But the message was clear. It was awake now. Valix stood frozen. No one. Move, he whispered. Power down all weapons, all systems. Do not give it a reason. But Krantov didn't listen. He ordered his beam cannon to charge fully, still not to fire, just to show strength. And then the Leviathan responded. A single bright flash. No noise, no trail. Just a beam of white light thinner than a needle. It touched the Fang of Honor, and the ship was gone. No explosion, no fire, no debris. Just empty space where the cruiser had been. Gasps and screams filled the Zendari fleet. Dozens of captains began pulling their ships back. Others sent frantic messages to Central Command. Valix stared in horror. One ship, erased in less than a second. No warning, no delay. The Leviathan powered back down. Its red lights faded, and it went still again. Just like before, as if nothing had happened. Valix slowly walked to the center of the bridge. He looked at every officer. Let that be the last mistake we ever make, he said quietly, because there won't be a second chance. He opened a fleet-wide channel. All units, pull back to safe range. Hold position. No scans, no pings. We are not dealing with a normal ship. We are standing in front of a god. Admiral Varnak sat alone in his private chamber aboard the Spear of Glory. The lights were dim. The screen before him still showed the Leviathan. The human ship was silent once again. But he couldn't forget what it had done. One touch of light, and the Fang of Honor was erased like it never existed. No wreckage, no escape pods, no trace. Gone. But Varnax didn't feel fear. He felt anger. These humans, he growled to himself. They dare to erase one of our ships, and we just sit and do nothing. Unlike the other commanders, Varnax didn't see a monster. He saw a challenge. And in his mind, no alien, no matter how powerful, deserved to command Zendari respect without spilling equal blood. He paced the floor, his claws tapping against the steel. The council had ordered silence. Valix had begged for peace. But Varnax had other plans. He tapped his console and opened a secure line encrypted and untraceable. A face appeared on the screen. Admiral Relock, a younger officer from a distant cruiser. "Sir?" Relock asked. "Have you gathered the strike team?" Varnax asked quietly. "Yes, 3 ships fully armed. All volunteers," Varnax nodded slowly. "Good, we strike tonight." Relock hesitated. "But sir..." The Leviathan erased his ship with one shot. "We don't even know how." "I know," Varnax replied, eyes narrowing. "But we will overwhelm it with 3 simultaneous attacks. 1 ship couldn't do it alone, but 3 might be enough. And if it's not?" Relock asked. Varnax didn't blink. "Then we die in honor, not like cowards." Elsewhere in the fleet, Commander Valix was growing uneasy. The Leviathan hadn't moved since the incident, but something felt off. "Scan for fleet movement," he ordered. "I thought we weren't scanning the Leviathan," Krell said. "Not them," Valix replied. "Us." Tren typed quickly, and a few moments later, frowned. "3 cruisers have broken formation," he said. "They've gone. Dark, no signals, no power signatures." Valix's stomach dropped. "Who's leading them?" "Admiral Varnax." Valix's hands clenched into fists. "He's going to try something stupid." He opened a direct emergency channel. "Varnax, stand down immediately," he said. "We've already lost 1 ship. Don't force us to lose more." Varnax answered after a delay, his face calm but sharp. "You call yourself a commander, Valix, but you're letting fear control you." "I'm letting logic control me," Valix replied. "You saw what happened. This isn't a battle we can win." "No, it's one you can't win," Varnax said. "But I still have fire in my blood," Valix tried again. "You're risking the lives of everyone out here. You'll start a war none of us can survive." Varnax ended the call without a word. "Back aboard the Spear of Glory," Varnax stood tall. "Power weapons," he ordered. "Bring engines to silent mode. All ships will strike in unison. Aim for the Leviathan's engines. We'll disable it, then call in reinforcements." His officers obeyed, though some looked nervous. No one wanted to be remembered as the second ship to vanish. But they followed Varnax not because they believed, but because he did. As the ships drifted closer in the shadows, the Leviathan remained still. No reaction, no signal, just watching. Varnax gave the final order. "On my mark. Fire." But before he could say the word, every screen on all 3 ships went black. No systems, no lights, not even emergency power. Then a message appeared on all bridges. In glowing red letters, "You were warned." Valix saw it too, his jaw clenched. "Krell, get me eyes on those ships." Tren pulled up the external view. The 3 cruisers were now frozen in space. Not destroyed, not erased. Just locked. The Leviathan hadn't fired a weapon. It had shut them down everything. "They can disable our ships without touching us," Krell whispered. "They don't need to kill," Valix said. "They just need us to see what they can do." A few seconds later, the disabled ships lit back up. One by one, systems came online, life support returned, lights flickered on. The message disappeared, and a new voice came through, Captain Ilias Vorn of the Leviathan. He spoke just one sentence. "Next time I won't be kind." Then silence returned. Admiral Varnax collapsed into his command chair, his pride shattered, his crew shaken, his plan ruined. Valix finally spoke to his fleet. "Let this be the end of our foolishness. The humans have given us more mercy than we deserve." From that moment on, no one dared challenge the Leviathan again. For days, the Leviathan floated in silence. No weapons fired, no signals sent, but every alien commander in the Zendari fleet felt it. The human ship wasn't just sitting there, it was watching. Admiral Varnax had made his move, and the humans had responded, not with destruction, not with death, but with a warning, a terrifying warning. "Next time, I won't be kind." Now all Zendari ships held position. No one moved forward, no one scanned, no one whispered a threat. The fear had settled deep into their bones. Commander Valix stood at the front of his bridge, tired but focused. 3 full rotations had passed. And still the Leviathan did not speak again. "Maybe it's waiting for us to make another mistake," Krell said quietly. "Or maybe," Tren added, "it's waiting for instructions." Then without warning, every ship in the Zendari fleet received the same signal, encrypted, universal. And unlike any frequency they'd seen before, Valix turned to the screen. "What is that?" he asked. Tren's fingers moved fast. "It's coming from not the Leviathan, but somewhere far planetary origin." Valix's heart skipped. "Earth," he whispered. "It's coming from Earth." The signal unfolded, and a video began. The screen showed an old man sitting at a large desk. Behind him were flags, symbols, and a blue and green planet turning slowly. The man wore no armor, no medals, just a simple suit. But the weight of his presence was heavier than any weapon. "I am Director Ethan Marlowe of the Terran Peace Assembly," the man said. "You have encountered one of our ships, the UNCC. Leviathan." His voice was calm, clear, and filled with experience. He didn't sound like a warlord. He sounded like a father. "We are aware of your presence. We have chosen not to act in hostility, but you have tested our patience." Valix felt the crew around him freeze. Even the air on the bridge seemed to grow colder. "We left your part of the galaxy a long time ago," Marlowe continued. "We left not because we were weak, but because we were angry. Tired of wars we didn't start. Tired of being hunted, studied, and judged." The screen zoomed slightly closer to Marlowe's face. His eyes were tired, but not defeated. "We decided to walk away. We built ships like the Leviathan not to conquer, but to defend our silence. But every time one of you dares to poke at our walls, we are reminded that the galaxy never learns." Valix swallowed hard. It didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like pain. "You erased our name from your history books," Marlowe said. "You called us savages, monsters, myths, and yet you fear us, because you remember what happens when Earth is provoked." Then came the words that no one expected. "We do not want war. We want peace, but not peace through weakness. Our peace comes through power. The kind you've now seen." The camera pulled back again. Marlowe stood, placed both hands on the desk. "This is not a declaration," he said. "This is not a warning. This is a final reminder. Leave Earth alone." The screen faded to black. No music, no ending message. Just the cold silence of space once more. Valix couldn't speak. The bridge remained quiet for several minutes. Not a word, not a breath. Finally, Tren said softly, "That didn't feel like a leader. That felt like a parent scolding a child." Krell nodded. He wasn't proud. He was disappointed. Valix understood it now. Humans weren't looking for power. They had already built it. They just didn't want to use it. But if someone forced them, the result would not be war, it would be punishment. Valix opened a secure message to the Zendari High Council. He included the full transmission from Earth. Then he added one line, "We are lucky to be alive, please. Let's keep it that way." The message from Earth had ended, but its echo still lived inside every ship, every heart, every breath of the Zendari fleet. No one moved. Not the admirals, not the captains, not even the drones. Commander Valix stood in silence. The screen before him was dark now, but he didn't need to see it anymore. The words still repeated in his mind. "Leave Earth alone." 3 simple words, spoken not with rage, not with pride, but with the deep, tired voice of a species that had survived too much. Valix finally turned to his crew. "Begin withdrawal procedures," he said softly. Krell blinked in surprise. "Sir?" "We don't belong here anymore," Valix said. "Maybe we never did." One by one, the Zendari ships turned. Engines powered up, shields dropped, weapons powered down. No sudden movements, no sudden signals. They moved like pilgrims leaving a sacred place. And the Leviathan? It didn't move. It didn't chase. It simply watched. As the fleet backed away, a strange feeling filled the air. It wasn't shame. It wasn't fear. It was something else. Respect. Valix opened a private message channel and addressed the entire fleet. "Remember this. moment, he said. This day was not a defeat, it was a lesson. Humans didn't destroy us, they showed us mercy. And from this day forward, we must never forget the weight of that mercy. On every ship, officers nodded in silence. Some wiped sweat from their brows, others simply stared at the Leviathan as it shrank in the distance. The retreat was quiet, smooth, and fast. By the end of the cycle, the Zendari fleet had cleared Sector 14. They left behind no beacons, no markers, just one unspoken rule. This place belongs to the Terrans. Back on the Leviathan, Captain Elias Vorn stood at the command deck. He watched the retreat in silence, then turned to his crew. "They've learned," he said. "Do we pursue?" asked his first officer. Vorn shook his head. "No, we weren't here to fight. Only to remind them we still exist." He looked out the massive viewport again. The stars were calm now, empty. "Log the encounter," he said. "Then plot a return course." "Yes, sir," the officer replied. "And Captain?" "Yes? Do you think they'll tell the others?" Vorn smiled quietly. "They'll try not to," he said. "But fear has a voice of its own." And indeed, it did within weeks. Stories of the encounter spread, first through whispers, then through secret transmissions. Other alien governments asked the Zendari what had happened, but the Zendari only said one thing: "Do not approach Sector 14. Soon maps were updated. Trade routes shifted, explorers turned away, and the stars around Earth became quiet once again. But in that silence, a new understanding was born. Across the galaxy, children asked their elders, "Are humans real?" And the elders answered, "Yes, but pray you never meet one." War generals reviewed old files, dusty records from wars long forgotten. They saw names like Terran Steel, Leviathan Protocol, Red Zones, and they felt the chill of old warnings. And everywhere the word human was spoken, it was not with laughter, not with mockery, but with care. Not because humans were evil, but because they had power, and they chose not to use it, unless they had to. Back on Earth, Director Ethan Marlowe received a report. The Leviathan had returned. The mission was complete. The galaxy had remembered. He placed the file down and looked out the window. Children played in the green parks below. Shuttles flew quietly overhead. Peace was still alive, he whispered to himself. Let them fear us, if that's what keeps them from trying again, because sometimes fear protects peace better than war ever could. And so, the legend of the Leviathan grew, not as a weapon, but as a reminder that somewhere in the stars, there was a planet called Earth, a place where monsters didn't rule, but if pushed they could wake, and when they did, the stars themselves would go silent.